Welcome to the LDN Radio Show, brought to you by the LDN Research Trust. I'm your host, Linda Elseygood. I have an exciting lineup of guest speakers who are LDN experts in their field. We will be discussing low-dose naltrexone and its many uses in autoimmune diseases, cancers, etc. Thank you for joining us. This show was sponsored by Irsfeld Pharmacy, who are licensed in North, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and Arizona. They help with obtaining LDN and other compounded medicines in those states. Their passion is solving unique patient problems with compounding and nutritional supplements. Their patients are family. Call 701-483-4858 or visit www.irsfeldpharmacy.com. Today my guest is Steve Irsfeld, who's a pharmacist. Thank you for joining us, Steve.
Thanks, Linda.
Now, you're in South Dakota, is that right?
I'm in Dickinson, North Dakota.
North Dakota, okay. And I do know that you're licensed in North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and Arizona. So you must be pretty busy.
That's correct. Yep, we're kind of located in the southwest corner of North Dakota, and we kind of touch the other three states that are real close. And then we have a practitioner that we work with down in Arizona that has asked us to be licensed down there as well. So yeah. Okay.
Well, our listeners really love to know who the pharmacist is. So could you give us your background, please?
Surely, you bet. I'm a 1998 graduate from North Dakota State University in Fargo, North Dakota. I've been practicing pharmacy since that time and lived in Fargo for a couple of years before moving back to my hometown of Dickinson. My father's a pharmacist as well, and I started working with him in 1996. I also we're kind of a family of pharmacists. I have three uncles, a cousin, and then my oldest daughter is also a pharmacist. So came back home and we were pregnant with our third child, and we just kind of wanted to get a little bit slower pace. Dickinson's about maybe a fifth the size of Fargo, and wanted to start practicing with my dad. And, from there we just started compounding in 1998. I think we've been compounding LDN for about 10 years now. It just seems like the last couple of years has really kind of taken off. But I have a wife and three daughters, and I enjoy being active. I enjoy learning about nutrition and wellness and how to help my patients better all the time. And that's kind of my story a little bit in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm. So with the compounding of LDN, do you compound it in capsules and liquid and sublingual? What forms do your prescribers ask for?
Sure. By far and away, the biggest call is for capsules. We do a little bit of topical for some skin conditions, for some pediatric patients as well. And we've done liquid. We haven't gotten into the sublingual dosages yet. The liquid we've compounded has usually been sublingual drops for our patients that might experience some loose stools and diarrhea when they take the naltrexone. So, yeah.
What filler do you use in your capsules?
It kind of depends, but typically, historically, we've used lactose as our main filler. But we've, for those that have lactose intolerance, we've gone to other fillers. We've used microcrystalline cellulose as one. We've used acidophilus as another one. So it kind of depends. Oftentimes, the patients that we're treating can have multiple sensitivities, and looking at what's going to work best for them and kind of tailoring it to their specifications. So.
Mm-hmm. So you were talking about the topical cream there. Do you have many children using LDN in your from your pharmacy?
Well, we're just so you know, we're a very rural area. Where Dickinson has a population of around 22,000 people. Our 50-mile radius has probably 40,000 people. We don't have a large population. I shouldn't say a large population, but we do deal with some pediatric patients, just not a whole lot of them, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then that leads me to believe maybe the population is a little bit older. And I've been interviewing people with Parkinson's. A doctor did ask if I could ask if we'd got any patients with Alzheimer's, but nobody got back to me with that. Do you have any patients with Parkinson's or Alzheimer's using LDN?
I don't believe we do. I guess the majority of our patients, I would say, are going to be using it for rheumatoid arthritis. You see that more in an elderly population oftentimes. Eczema and psoriasis, multiple sclerosis. We have one of the things I really like about the LDN research site is that list of conditions. I had a patient that come to our pharmacy for multiple years, and just had a really good conversation with her one day, and she was explaining that she had stiff person syndrome, and I was, kind of shocked because I had never heard of that condition before. And I said, well, let's go into the office here, and I pulled up the LDN research site and the conditions page and just typed in under search stiff, and it went exactly to stiff person syndrome, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. So since that time, we've gotten her on Low Dose Naltrexone, and she's done really marvelous. That stiff person syndrome, it just sounds horrible for those patients that have that, and she's really come a long ways and is very happy with how she's done with the naltrexone.
So how did she start taking LDN? What dose?
Typically, we'll start them off on 1.5 milligram, and after anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, we'll go to 3 milligrams, and then go to 4.5 milligram. And that would, I would say, would be our typical patient. However, if they have side effects or they don't tolerate it very well at 1.5, we'll go down to 0.5, and if they need to go lower, we can even go lower than that. But that would be about as low as we start them off on, is the 0.5. Mm-hmm. And then we have strengths that go all the way in between there, at 0.5 milligram increments. So, kind of really working with the patient. Not everybody reacts the same. What one person might feel great on 4.5, the next person might feel great on 2. And, increasing that dose over a period of time allows you to kind of dial in and figure out what dose is going to work best for them. I think it's really been fun to work with these patients in the fact that everybody is so unique, and to be able to help them as an individual kind of solve their problems has been a lot of fun.
And when you've been diagnosed with a condition, I personally have MS, it's quite devastating when you know that, you've got a progressive disease and there's not really a lot that anyone can do for you. And I think actually being able to talk to somebody who can give you some help and advice and let you know that, the bottom really hasn't fallen out of your world, that life is still there for living is a marvellous thing. So, I thank you for that. I'm sure your patients really appreciate it.
Yep. I think that I feel that we do a really good job with patient care and being there for them, but getting them comfortable with taking low-dose naltrexone. Oftentimes they'll get to the internet and they'll just type in naltrexone and they'll get a little bit startled with some of the uses that it has been used for historically. So I try and set them up before they even get to the internet, so that they don't get freaked out and get to the good sites like the LDNResearchTrust.org, so that they get good information and can feel comfortable with the direction that they're going with their care. So yeah, patient care and a lot of hand holding for some is what we try and do for them. So.
And have any of your patients notified you of any strange side effects? I'm not talking about sleep disturbance or vivid dreams, anything out of the ordinary.
I think, I just had one with really bad insomnia. It's not really a strange side effects, but one that was difficult because, if you're not feeling good already and then you can't sleep on top of it. We encouraged her. I utilized the website, and found that oftentimes after 5 to 7 days, that kind of can subside. So just encouraged her to work through that, not give up, and that was helpful for her. We've had some patients with headaches. We've had patients with loose stools and diarrhea. A couple with really, really crazy dreaming. But most patients tolerate it really well. It's been fun from that perspective, is the ability to tolerate it, and then the effect that they get with it.
Well, the last time we did a survey, we found that only 5% of people had side effects. And for those that have insomnia, a lot of doctors these days tell people to take it in the morning, and that seems to rectify it. And then they can choose whether they want to go back and take it at night. But I have some members who take LDN for ME and find that for their chronic fatigue, taking it in the morning actually gives them more of a buzz throughout the day than taking it at night. So
I could see with that increased endorphin levels that would surely be beneficial that way. So yeah.
You were saying before we went live that you've been treating fibromyalgia with LDN. Mm-hmm. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yeah, I think for me that we've had probably the most dramatic results with those patients with fibromyalgia. As you know, fibromyalgia is pain in the muscles, ligaments, and tendons, but it's, a lot bigger than that. I mean, oftentimes these patients present with fatigue, depression. They just don't feel good. The conventional treatments, when we look at those, we've got, tricyclic antidepressants. We've got products like pregabalin, duloxetine. They work for a lot of people, and thank goodness that they've been out there, but they also carry with them a whole lot of side effects. My older patients that get put on Lyrica or pregabalin oftentimes present with a lot of fatigue, a lot of drowsiness, grogginess. They don't do real well with that medication. So when we look at those patients, and to be able to have a product like Low Dose Naltrexone is just a huge benefit. And when we look at that, we look at doing some research on my own about mechanisms of action of the low dose naltrexone and how it might benefit those patients with fibromyalgia. So first of all, if we're blocking that opioid receptor, we know that we're going to increase those endorphin levels. And when we increase those endorphin levels and that naltrexone leaves that receptor site, we know those endorphins are going to come in there and stimulate that receptor and create a pain effect. So that's kind of the number one effect with it. Secondarily, when we elevate endorphins, we modulate that immune response downwards. So if we look at fibromyalgia having an autoimmune component, we're going to work on that aspect of it. And then lastly, fibromyalgia, there's some studies out there showing it's got a neuroinflammatory component. So when we're working with neuroinflammation, naltrexone is going to block that activation of those microglia in the central nervous system. The microglia are responsible for neuroinflammation. So we're going to work on pain, we're going to work on the immune system, and we're going to work on the central nervous system and inflammation there. So when I look at that, it just seems like they get really good results in a fairly short period of time. And I don't know if it's because of that we're working on three mechanisms. I don't know if it's because we're dealing with muscles and ligaments and tendons as opposed to like inflammation in a joint like rheumatoid arthritis or MS that's a chronically attacking that nervous system. But the fibromyalgia patients, I think, are just a great avenue to work with our practitioners, because oftentimes our practitioners are stumped with these patients. They don't want to give them opioids because they don't work real good, and they're worried about addiction liability and other side effects with them. And as I mentioned earlier, some of the other medications also have a whole amount of baggage that goes along with taking them. So that's what I like about low-dose naltrexone. Fibromyalgia has just been a fun one, because most practitioners that have family practice to internal medicine to rheumatologists, they're all seeing fibromyalgia patients, and they're struggling with how to treat them. And it's a great avenue and a great tool to have for them to use. So.
We've found that the fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, ME people are usually ultra-sensitive to all medications. Have you found that this group of people need to start on a lower dose than 1.5?
I think the majority of ours are starting at 1.5, but that's great to know as far as maybe even needing to go lower than 1.5. So are you suggesting to go down to like a half of a milligram, or what?
Well, if the patient is fine on 1.5, well then that's fine. But from the research we've done, we usually find that those people with those conditions need to start lower. But that's not to say everybody is the same, because everybody is individual. So I wouldn't like to make such a statement. Well,
that's great to know. That's great information, because it seems like every day that we pick up something new that we can do differently to help our patients. So that's good stuff. So.
Okay. So when the patient starts LDN for fibromyalgia, how long? I mean, you were saying some of the success is quite quickly. How quick would you say those patients notice an improvement?
I'm gonna say probably, off the top of my head, I've got one case where I did the 1 month follow-up call, and this was in the springtime, and just visiting with the patient. She had had fibromyalgia for I think 16 years, and she said to me, "You're not going to believe this, but I raked the lawn for the first time in 16 years." Wow. And she said I had 80% of her pain was 80% better than when she had initially started, and that was within a month. Sometimes it takes a dose increase or so to get them to where they're feeling great, but it just kind of depends on the patient once again. But I think they seem like maybe it's because they felt so crappy for so long that they're finally getting something that's giving them some benefit, and they just kind of are really excited about it. I don't know.
Well, I've spoken to many pain specialists, and they deal with patients who've been to absolutely everybody. They're their last port of call. And these people have been on, heavy-duty painkillers, morphine and fentanyl and a cocktail of different medications. And Dr. Pradeep Chopra likes all his patients off opioid painkillers before he starts. And the patients don't mind being weaned off because they feel that the pain is still on a 9 to 10 every day with all these medications. And it's amazing that, he's found that some patients have said, the pain has gone, which I find unbelievable. And then he's got others that the pain is on a 3 or 4. But because the pain has been so high for so long, dropping to a 3 or 4, that they know the pain's there, but it's tolerable, and they can still live their life and be as active as they want to be. They can, mentally block the pain that's left. So even that is great.
That's huge.
Yeah, if you've been lying on the sofa going, because you're in so much pain, and then to suddenly, like you said, this lady out in her garden, amazing, totally amazing.
Yeah, it's a joy when I hear those comments like that. It just confirms that we're doing the right thing and we're helping patients, and it brings me joy.
You said that you were in a rural area and the population isn't that great. Are there many prescribers in your state, in North Dakota?
We do have some pockets of bigger population towards the central and eastern part of the state. We don't do a whole lot of. There's other compounders in those areas, so we don't typically market to those areas. It's been, that's probably the hardest thing, is to get a doctor to, educate them and bring them up to speed as to what you're trying to do with low dose naltrexone. But once they see some patients that get benefits and results, oh my gosh, they just seem to set a fire underneath them. It's exciting for them, and their patients are getting relief, and they know that they're doing good for their patients. So, but getting them to that comfort level, it can take multiple calls. It can visits. To me it kind of the low dose naltrexone movement kind of mimics a little bit what bioidentical hormone replacement therapy had to go through years ago. It was just a lot of education for prescribers. Once they start to get results, they don't have any problem prescribing it. But getting them comfortable and educating them just takes quite a bit of time and effort to get that done.
We have a medical advisor called Dr. Phil Boyle. He's in Ireland and he uses LDN in his infertility clinic. He said he was talking to a doctor, and a doctor asked him, he said, "But isn't LDN addictive?" So he said, "Yes, it sure is. I just can't wait for the next patient to come through the door that I can prescribe LDN." He said, "It's not addictive for the patient, but it's really addictive for me because I have seen so many remarkable results, and I just want to help people, where LDN is appropriate to use." So that made me smile.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm. So because of all these different states that you are licensed in, how do people get hold of you to discuss LDN?
They can reach us. We've got a portal on our website. It's www.irsfeldpharmacy.com. They can ask a question through there. They can call us directly. Our local number is 701-483-4858. And they can just call us, and we're willing to help them in their little journey to wellness.
That's really interesting. And if there are any doctors out there in those areas who would like to learn more about LDN, maybe they can make an appointment to come and see you, or you can go and see them and give them the benefit of your experience of LDN.
Yep, I'm actually working with, I have a marketer that kind of does the legwork and groundwork for me to go in and talk to practitioners, and that's been really been fruitful for us to help patients differently, just to get the word out on, LDN's one of many different compounded treatments that we can help patients with. But yeah, it's been a good journey, and I tend to continue on the journey for many years. So,
and I think LDN is going to advance quicker with the pharmacies educating the doctors and giving them all the information and the confidence to prescribe. Because, until they have prescribed it, as you were saying, to get the confidence of seeing what LDN can do to patients, it's a learning curve.
I agree totally, and like I said, it's educating them. It's not a 2-minute conversation. It does take some time to kind of get them up to speed with the mechanisms of action. Once you kind of explain those mechanisms of action, give them some studies that they can look at and digest. Oftentimes that's what they need if you have a study. And, we talked earlier, Linda, that it's going to be a while before we get that big double-blind placebo-controlled study. But there's way more information out there online now that we can gather and assist those practitioners in getting to that comfort level.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your experience with us today. I really do appreciate it. It's been very educational.
Thank you. And, I've never been to England, but this is the closest I've been right now. Well, hopefully someday.
If you make it over here, you can come and see me. Or we've got the LDN 2018 conference up in Glasgow.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that. When is that? Is that in the fall again?
No, it's July. July the 7th.
July. Mm-hmm. Wow. That sounds like that could be interesting. Huh? That'd be fun.
Be good to meet you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
This show was sponsored by Irsfeld Pharmacy, who are licensed in North and South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and Arizona. They help with obtaining LDN and other compounded medicines in those states. Their passion is solving unique patient problems with compounding and nutritional supplements. Their patients are family. Call 701-483-4858 or visit www.irsfeldpharmacy.com. Any questions or comments you may have, please email me, Linda, Linda, at ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for joining us today. We really appreciated your company. Until next time, stay safe and keep well.